Somebody today that when half of, let's say, the population of the United States would still vote for Trump in jail, and that, like in BC here, we had such a huge number of people vote for conservatives, is you can tell that there's something wrong, not with specifically with the system of politics, but I've made a lot of arguments in the past where it's not really a democracy that we have, or that they have, or that any country in the world that claims it has. But we have our minds that are failing, and we know things are failing, and we don't know how to understand it because we're not systems thinkers, and we don't have the language to explain it, and we don't have the strength of character to endure the understanding of the explanation. So people would vote for Trump not because they believe he's a problem solver or he's made a plan or he can be trusted. They just have bitterness, frustration, anger, and they want to see some of that manifested against people that may or may not be more guilty than Trump is. So they have bad feelings, and ignorance makes people vote for people like Trump or a lot of the Conservative Party members that we have in Canada. So, like, this soldier you're going to see is, as our proto-societies here in BC and the United States and Canada are crumbling because our minds are crumbling, is people want to shout out Trump or make America great again or Caesar as things are going down as a justification sometimes to vent these ignorances and frustrations and bitterness and take more for oneself. Sometimes for one's family a little bit, but mostly for oneself. But even if it's just for one's family, is you can tell how we have gone far from the ecocentric worldview, farther and farther towards the smaller group or even individual, because even Trump would turn on his own kids if, they betrayed him. And a lot of ideologies here is related to they're crumbling, and some of the best people in these proto-societies or proto-civilizations, because we've never stabilized a real proto-civilization, much less acquired a real civilization if you look at the definitions, is the ideologies sometimes do kind of rise a little bit above what they used to be when it comes to sapience, wisdom. But the heroes of these advanced wisdom ideologies, although some may still be very primitive, is they will always be defeated in big structures. And sometimes they will be just because, if they or others in great power are just mortals with flaws, and unless you master life skills, for example, which has a big part of self-maintenance in it, is you will not be able to do well in the long term with such power. Even when they portrayed Caesar before he died as a great guy, he probably made a lot of mistakes. He probably was tormented in many, many ways. When you are responsible for so much, I mean, if we decentralized in a way that villages had a limited population and people were in charge of that, and it could be not one person, but let's say 12, that would still be that these 12 in charge of small villages together would still require a support network, because it would still be a lot for what we are capable of at this low stage of the maturation process as a species. Otherwise, it would not take long that they or other leaders soon to come to replace them would lose it. So we have to not just advance our worldview to ecocentrism, is we have to advance our ability to use language, to form collaborations, win-win scenario contracts, to bring accountability, and not accelerate impunity, which is happening now. Because there's a lot of impunity at this stage. And again, this is what's happening in many parts of the world today.
We obey our Caesar! Your Caesar's buying you! If you touch that gold, you are a traitor! You are a traitor!
You call me traitor? You're leading a rebellion! yourself.
It cannot be. Not my father's army. What's become of it?
There's nothing left. Darkness. Death. Run quickly, Lucilla.
Olivia!
There's no use crying. You don't understand all this, do you? In the old days, there was gold from the wars for the legionnaires. But your father, he was a great man, but with this new Rome, it's all changed.
So I posted on one of my, I think on Facebook, I posted a YouTube video somebody created that talks about the recruiting process for the IDF. And it's been going on like this, and it's elaborate. And it's almost like today, any soldier today that would actually kill somebody that they know or don't know has been bought off in some way. And when they're bought off, they lost their humanity if they ever had it to begin with. And this is going on, promises, whether they're religion related or asset related, or you'll have this wife, and in our culture, your wife, you can do whatever you want with her, kind of thing, right? It's very sick. Trump right now is going to be panicking quite a bit because he made a lot of promises to pardon people that have helped cover for him. So if it looks like he's not going to win, he probably has a plan B to go hide somewhere. And chances are he could get away with that because we have the kind of elite networks that are international here that would help him do that. His kids might not even be able to reach him and visit him, or his wife. And maybe there's a plan where they take over for him and he's like enjoying hiding somewhere with riches supported by other elites. So the concept of elitism is worse today than it's ever been in all those things from the past civilizations, as some of you might call them, that have collapsed. Is there hasn't been that many number of elites and that many ways for them to get away with things, even that are posted on the internet every day that they're getting away with, as today. So there's no way we are more civilized, even though we never have been, today than they were back then. Because elites protect themselves. I mean, the United Nations, as much as people that work for the United Nations at high levels say we're not succeeding, we're not doing our job, at this point it won't even disband. It won't even stop. There's too many elites controlling all this. And anybody that voices things and actually wants to do something about it, it won't happen. So the collapse that's coming for us is not so much as institutions or countries or civilizations. It's a collapse of the concept of even community. So anything relates to community. You could have maybe never traveled and been stuck, because you can say stuck even though you might say you've been happy like this. You're stuck in a small place like this, and you've seen it come and go in having better days or worse days. And by the way, mostly worse days are coming most places. And you might still think it's great there, and that's kind of weird, right? Because it's not like you don't know that person that's homeless. It's like you know them. How do you explain great? And again, it's selling yourself the illusion that you're a civilized person, or that you're a divine descendant of something. It's pretty ridiculous. So we lie to ourselves, and we teach our kids to lie to themselves instead of teaching them about reality and how to mitigate what they're going to go through. Not problem solve, it's no longer possible, but mitigate. And again, for me, that's the hope. The hope is I'm trying to, and I will continue to try to form mitigation ventures or teach people the right thinking skills that they need to, to be 10% what the definition of an Homo sapien would be, but I won't succeed. But the fact that I'm trying, and that I'll spend my life trying, makes me the kind of person that I'm proud of, even though I'll fail. My life would be easier if I became like the norm. and applied the various types of intelligence that I have that the norm doesn't have, or skill sets. But the thing is I worked hard to become an Homo sapien. I don't want to give up. So it'll be interesting to see, because my lifetime's not over yet, how much you continue to devolve yourselves. I know you'll be taking down the real creator with you, which is the biosphere, but I can't control that. And I know that the biosphere has a resiliency at different kind of system levels. That means even though you might even destabilize what has been constants of different gases, I'm not just talking about temperature, but different gases, like the levels of oxygen, or you know, what do you call it in French? It's azote. In the atmosphere, is even those things will change because they relate to life. And as you kill life on this planet, as an anti-life equation type species that you have become, by not maturing, by not pursuing the scientific paradigms instead of the magical and the religious paradigms, is you've spread everywhere, then you've spread everywhere in a way that you can counter-terraform your own planet. So if any of you think, without having this exact conversation, that you deserve to go on in a heaven somewhere, and there are gods, I mean, if you're made in the image of a god, that god has got to be one total screw-up, failure, and bad guy. And unfortunately, there's no, if you think the light wins, or good guys win, or whatever, or good gods beat bad gods, well, there's no evidence of that. If your God exists, he's a bad God, and there's no good God stopping him. If you are made in his image, and you destroy the heavenly planetary system you came from, yes, I think you're pretty screwed up and disconnected from reality, and there's more of this, but I'm going to stop here because I'm tired of repeating myself to the Homo communion.